Hello, everyone. Today I'm speaking with Sam Goodwin from Florida. You're from Florida, right? Right now? You're in Florida.
I'm in Tampa today. That's right. Yep.
Yes, so speaking with Sam. He's been to all 193 UN countries, and his journey. I started reading about your journey, and it is so fascinating because you have had some crazy experiences in crazy places, which are absolutely mind-boggling. And when I was reading upon that, I could not even comprehend what was going through in your mind, what was happening to you, how it shaped your personality. And I would like to delve deeper into that as well in the podcast. So I'll ask some questions about that. But completing 193 countries is a massive feat and it's very inspiring. And I wanted to ask you and begin with your origins. So, was travel inherently there in your childhood, or was it something that developed later on, or something like that?
Thanks for that intro. Thanks for the opportunity to be here and for making the effort to allow, people in this community to share our stories. We really appreciate it. And on that note, I just want to mention that over about a 10-year period, I traveled every country in the world, and that absolutely would not have been possible without the help and the assistance and the guidance of the other people in this community who were pursuing a similar goal, whether it was every country or just in the general kind of extreme travel community. I just would not have been able to do it. So any opportunity that I have to say thank you and to express how grateful I am to those people who helped me, I take that opportunity, and this is one of them. So I did do this, but it's almost strange even beginning that sentence with I because it was a team effort, truly. And so um, I just really appreciate all the help that I received. And if anybody listening is attempting to do the same thing or attempting to kind of get off the beaten path and thinks I can help with anything, well, I have a lot of paying it forward to do. So please reach out and let me know how I can help. So specific to your question, so I grew up primarily in St. Louis, Missouri, which is near the geographic center of the United States. I'm the oldest of five. I have two younger brothers, two younger sisters. I played ice hockey for my entire life. And most of my travel as a kid and as a teenager was actually crisscrossing the US and Canada playing hockey. In addition to that, our parents took us to Europe once or twice, so we did kind of have that experience. But after college, I had the opportunity to move to Singapore for a job. It was where I started my professional career. And I actually originally only planned to be there for kind of an internship for about 3 months, but it evolved into a more kind of official role. And I ended up staying for 6 years. And that was, being based in Singapore as an expat in a place that's geographically located in a great spot for travel, a place that as the world's best airport and so forth, was really kind of where the foundation of my travel journey began.
So I also have a special affinity to Singapore. I have studied in Singapore for 2 years.
Oh, really? When
Yes.
were you there?
So I was there from 2022 to 2024. So Singapore is also a very special place in my heart. I love Singapore, and Singapore was also I give a lot of credit to Singapore for also boosting my travel journey in some way or the other, because I have been to many places in that region, Southeast Asia specifically, because of Singapore. And I've
Yep,
been,
amazing. Congrats. We have a lot in common there because that's kind of
yes,
where it's a great place
it's
to
a great
start.
place to be. It's a great place to be, and I feel it's such a good melting pot of places, melting pot of cultures and food and people. So it's absolutely one of my favorite places in the world, especially to live in, because and also there's a misconception I feel that Singapore is too expensive, that I think you will also agree with. people who stayed there, they say apart from living the hawker centers and things like that, it's pretty doable on a budget as well, which is
For
yeah,
sure. I think if somebody lives in Singapore and they really avoid, like the two things that are really expensive are owning a car
yes,
and like the
housing,
high-end properties,
yes, housing,
the
yes,
high-end property, the
yeah,
rent. So if there are ways to, and if you're willing to eat the local food, like at the hawker stalls, it's actually pretty manageable in my opinion.
yeah. It's also it's pretty cool. Uh, Also, you have, like you said, you played hockey and did sport, and and then after that, you went to Singapore for your internship, which eventually turned out to be a 6 year long period where you kickstarted your travel journey. So, when you ended your hockey, did you see it as a loss or like a beginning of something else, or like a new beginning for you?
At the time, I saw it as a loss. I had played my entire life. I
Yeah,
was in my early 20s and really had never considered doing anything else in my life. That was what I loved. That was what I cared about. I was fortunate to have some success with the sport. I earned a Division 1 athletic scholarship and played in college and had a little bit of success with the sport. Then I had some pretty bad injuries. I had concussion injuries. I wasn't able to continue playing at the recommendation of several doctors and neurologists. So it kind of left me in this position of trying to figure out what I was going to do, and that led to kind of pursuing other options. It led me to Asia, and so at the time it felt like a loss. However, there's the cliche saying, but it's actually very true. When one door closes, another one opens, and so I look back at that kind of fork in the road, so to speak, and I just think about how much has come from the fact that I wasn't able to play hockey. I moved to Asia, I traveled, met, people that I would have never met before. Also just gained a perspective and professional experience that was so valuable. I mean, for those 6 years, I was working for a tech startup and a nonprofit in the region. And for 6 years, every meeting that I went into, I was the dumbest person in the room. And this was uncomfortable, but simultaneously this time of huge personal and professional growth, and none of it would have been possible without going on that path and taking those risks. So at the time it felt like a loss, but reflecting now, certainly a huge win. And I still play hockey today,
that's
for
great.
fun.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Uh, like you said, you were in a job, so how did you manage travel with that? So was travel like a main priority while you were doing your job? Was that something which always played on your mind?
So my professional career was always the priority. However, I was in my early 20s. I was single at the time. I had a little bit of flexibility in my work schedule working for a startup. I had, as I mentioned, in the Changi Airport in my backyard, and so I just took advantage of the opportunity to explore as much of the region and beyond as possible, weekends, holidays, whatever it might have been. And so that was, being in Singapore was really fortunate to be able to do that. You finish work at like in the evening and 2 hours later, it's pretty reasonable to be in Bali or in Phuket or
Yeah,
somewhere else in the region. So
yes. I have experienced that myself, taking just a Scoot airline and just going to some random place in Indonesia. I've done that. So
absolutely.
it's completely relatable. And was your travel style mostly solo? Was it with people?
It was a range. So based in Singapore, started to meet people through work and playing hockey as well, and we would travel together. I also traveled quite a bit solo, and I enjoy both. I mean, there's a benefit to doing to being solo and doing what you want when you want, exactly how you want to do it. On the flip side, it's tough to beat. sharing those moments of discovery with another person. So there, I find a lot of value in both styles of travel.
Same with me as well. I feel solo is also good for personal development and things like that. And it's trying to get yourself out of the comfort zone, but getting yourself out of your comfort zone. But then I wish sometimes that there was somebody with me so that I can share those moments of discovery or joy or food with. So I also, it's a two-sided coin. And going from your segueing from your hockey journey, you were invited to North Korea as a hockey coach. That's a
Yeah,
pretty cool
so
invitation to get.
yeah, so this was 2016. I was living in Singapore, and there was a Canadian man who was putting together a sports exhibition, so to speak, and was looking for some people to come and coach the North Korean men's hockey team. And long story short, I was very interested and was able to go on the trip. And I had a fantastic experience. We were treated like royalty. The food was delicious. I'm not. We were there for a week, and I'm not oblivious to the fact that I saw what they wanted me to see. And getting off that tourist track, things in North Korea can look very different. But we were treated incredibly well, and it was memorable to use hockey, to use a sport as a way to build a cultural bridge with people. These were people who, given the life that I've been fortunate to live, don't have a ton in common. But as soon as we dropped that puck and played together, our relationship ran like a Swiss watch. We knew exactly how to work together to play together and score goals, and so nobody cared about demarcation lines and nuclear weapons and political discrepancies, and so there are lots of ways to build bridges with people around the world. But it was memorable to do that in North Korea and use hockey as a way to have that experience.
What you said is very beautiful. Like when you were on the field, all the cultural boundaries erased, and uh, traveling, there's a lot of people aspect to it, and there's a lot of connection as well. Did travel also change the way you started looking at people?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've learned so much through travel, and particularly with the people. I mean, one of the things that I've learned is to never judge people by the actions of their government. I've also learned that people who have the least often give the most, something that I found to be true in all corners of the world. I've learned that every person's why is the same. We all eat, sleep, breathe, want to be happy, or chasing some kind of goal. It's only the how that changes. And then also in regards to the people, I mean, in my experience, I've been to every country in the world, and the overwhelming majority of people in the world are are well-intentioned, proud of their country, happy to help others, and it's oftentimes just a small subset of people that give a much larger group a bad reputation. And unfortunately, if we turn on our TVs, we only see that small percentage that's negative.
Yeah, so Western media is portraying something very negative, and somehow I feel it's also coming in the way of how we are not forming our own opinions. I feel we should form our own opinions and look at it firsthand, and then make our own judgment, which is altered, which is natural, but it's how it is. It is getting altered, and you're right. I feel 99.9% of people are good in the world. There's just a 0.1% of people who are part of that subset. But I also wanted to ask that North Korea, as you went as a coach, which is little different from how a tourist would want to go to North Korea. They could go on these guided kind of things, guided kind of trips from, I think, China. And so was your thing like a guided kind of a thing as well, or was it a little different?
I think we left from Beijing as well, but it wasn't kind of one of those tours that maybe we're more familiar with. And actually, if this experience and opportunity wouldn't have presented itself, I would have been pursuing going on one of those tours for sure. But this opportunity. kind of came across my desk, and it was kind of as it was organized through the government, through the North Korean Sports Federation, or whatever the governing body was called. So it was a little bit different, but again, if I wouldn't have had that opportunity, I would have been pursuing other ways to visit the country at some point as well.
Yes. Did the goal of when did the goal started forming that I want to visit every single country in the world?
So over the 6 years in Singapore, on weekends, holidays, opportunities I had away from work, I just traveled as much as I could. And just a personal preference when I traveled, I didn't like to repeat places. So even if I went somewhere and had a great experience, the next weekend or holiday, the next opportunity I had, I would just go somewhere different. And so I put that formula into play for about 6 years, and in early 2018, I realized that I had traveled to about 120 countries in the
Wow.
world, and it was at that point when I remember thinking, well, how many are there? Because I had always traveled because it was fun and I enjoyed it, but most importantly, I learned from it. Travel's the best education I've ever had. It was never about ticking boxes or checking places off a list. But I got to this point, I did a little bit of research, and I learned that there are 193, as the name of this podcast indicates,
Yes. Yes.
193 fully recognized UN sovereign states. And at that point, I thought, well, maybe I could go to all of them. And the competitive athlete in me likes setting goals and working toward achieving them. And so over the next year, about a year, my style of travel changed a little bit because the objective and the goal with travel had adjusted. But that was how that happened.
Yes, as you again said that travel is the strongest education which one can have. I think also very educational thing, something which no school or college can teach you. It teaches you the best history, the best geography, the best everything. So, what was something which travel taught you, which school didn't, or college didn't, or work didn't?
Oh, I mean, travel taught me how to let expectations take a back seat and replace stereotypes with real experiences. It taught me how to become comfortable being uncomfortable in a specific way. It taught me about the power of perspective, and so there is a lot that can be learned in a classroom, but um, it's different than experiencing things in the real world.
It surely is. Even when I was traveling, there's some situations which obviously you have to be quick on your feet. You need to be thinking. You have to you're constantly absorbing the environment, and you need to be very alert, which is also some which are very necessary life skill which travel teach you. So yes. One thing which I read about you, which gave me chills, was your experience in Syria. You were
Mhm.
you were held hostage for 27 days, and as because they thought you were there for espionage. So what can you tell us about that? Because even thinking of that gives me goosebumps.
Yep. So in the spring of 2019, I had been to 180 of 193 countries. The next place I was going to go to was Syria. And on May 25th, I traveled there. And just 2 hours after arriving, I was walking through a roundabout on the way to meet up with my guide when all of a sudden a black pickup truck abruptly pulled up next to me. Two armed men jumped out of the back seat and instructed me to get inside. And thankfully, they weren't violent, but I didn't have a choice. And I was scared, confused. I had no information or anyone to help. I was desperately trying to understand what was happening. And the men in the vehicle were loyal to the then Syrian president, Bashar al-Assad. And they told me that they were skeptical about my travel history and my travel motives. And as we sped down back alleys of the city, those officers accused me of espionage, of being an American spy and collaborating with terrorists. And throughout my travel journey, nothing like this had ever happened to me before. And they went on to hold me for 9 weeks, for 63 days in some pretty uncomfortable situations, and I'm happy to talk about those. I actually also wrote a book about this experience called Saving Sam. So if anyone's interested in checking that out and learning a little bit more about the story, you can check that out. But I was held for 9 weeks, and thank God, thanks to a long list of people who worked tirelessly, the situation ended peacefully, and on July 26th, I was released and was able to come home. And in the wake of that, it really, I was talking a minute ago about perspective, and this is something that that truly puts a lot into perspective. And I don't want to be known for the the things that happen to me. I want to be known for the way I've responded to them. And I hope that people who hear me speak today, or read my book, will be empowered to adopt a similar mindset and implement it into their own personal and professional or spiritual lives. And so, in a nutshell, that's kind of what happened. I can talk more about it, or there's also more information in the book as well. But this was in the summer of 2019, and then in the wake of that, after several months of reflection and putting things into context, I traveled to the remaining 12 countries when I came home, and it was on December 31st, 2019, when I visited Brazil, which was my final country on the journey.
Congratulations to you on that as well.
Yeah,
Completing
thank you. Thank you.
190. It's a massive thing. Before I come back to this again about how you completed every country, I want to also ask that these are very unfortunate events which happen, and whoever has spoken to, they've all had some kind of experience like that, which is not always the best. So does that demotivate you? How do you get through that dip in motivation as well? And what does it feel? How do you internally process it as well?
For me on my journey, safety was always the top priority, as much as it can be on a journey like this. Of course, there are places in the world that are unstable. They're facing instability or a range of different situations. Interestingly, these places, a bit of a side note, but the places that are negatively perceived, or Western media tells us we're not supposed to like, these were the same places where I had many of my best experiences. So there's a little bit of a paradox there. But again, safety was always the top priority. I don't think it's cool to be in unsafe situations. I don't go looking for trouble. So, on a journey like this, it's going to require taking some risks at some point, and being a little bit uncomfortable. That said, it's not smart to be unsafe, and it's just so important to research. It's People ask me, give me some travel advice, and the very first thing I say is research. Just research, research. There's so many there's so much content out there. There's so many different outlets and different ways to gather information. So, um, that would be kind of my advice, or how I kind of view these more unstable places.
So does that research apply to these unstable places, or do you say that we should also research little places which are safe, or which are more touristy?
Yeah, I would say the research applies all the time, and I think it just applies in different ways to different places. I mean, one of the best pieces, like one of the things I would say in addition to kind of research, or within that, is to follow the path of other travelers ahead of you, because they can provide a lot of great information on who to work with, who to talk to, what the fixers look like, where to stay, especially in places that are a little bit unstable. So I think the research applies all the time. It just applies a little bit differently in different places in my experience.
Like in your experience and in all the people who've done 193, you've been to places which are very off the beaten path as well. You've been to places in Oceania. We've been to places in West Africa. You've been to some countries which I don't think anybody would be able to point on a map as well. So do you recommend do you recommend people to go off the beaten path a bit to explore the little lesser known places, explore little less touristy places, I would say?
I think travel means something different to everybody, and that's the beauty of it. So, I think I learned a lot from going off the beaten path and had experiences that, I'm not going to have in London or Paris. So, but for some people, they enjoy going to places that are a little bit more set up for visitors and have kind of a tourist infrastructure in place. And so, for me personally, I mean, I'm just one person. I mean, I enjoyed getting off the beaten path and being in places that are maybe a little bit more uncomfortable than, staying at the Four Seasons in Hong Kong, which it's just different for everybody, and there's no right or wrong. If someone says to you, "This is the right way to travel," or "That's the wrong way to travel," I would push back on that and say, well, I think it means something different to everybody, and that's the beauty of it.
That's also general opinion which many people have, that travel is very open, why to each his own, and they all have different goals which they want to get out of it as well. Some people want to go for shopping, some people want to go for some local cultural experience, some people want to go for, like you said, staying in a very luxurious hotel. So it's person to person, and I agree with you on that as well. It's something very personal and something which you should know what you want to do, what your goal is out of it. Uh, I will not ask you your favorite country because it's a very tough thing to do, according to me. If people ask me what my favorite country is, me being to about 50,
Oh, nice job.
yes.
Congrats.
It's the same philosophy as you. My family doesn't like to repeat places.
Hmm.
And when my parents and my grandparents were young, they had been to all the little more touristy places. So since I was born, I've been going to unique places and experiencing unique things. So
Love
uh,
that. Have you been to the US?
yes, I have.
Okay, cool. Well, you're welcome here in Tampa, Florida, anytime. You can come visit.
And that's the only place I've been to in the US, Florida.
Oh, really? Did you go
Yes.
to Disney World?
Yeah, we went to Disney World, did Miami's, and then we took
Yep.
a cruise in the Caribbean. So that was when
Amazing.
I was quite young. So,
Amazing.
and so many of my friends are studying in the USL. Definitely, I have to come.
Great. You're welcome anytime.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, and you're welcome anytime in India as well.
Yeah, I would love to come back. I've been several times.
Yes,
Really enjoyed my time there. I was actually talking to my wife about India just a few days ago, and I just had great experiences there. So I would love the opportunity to come back.
yes, it's so much to see, so many different cultures in this one country, and every place is night and day different. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's like the 28 countries inside India.
Right, for sure. Like I spent so I've been to Delhi and been to the Taj Mahal in Agra. I've been like some of my best memories in India were actually up in Leh
Oh,
in
wow.
Ladakh. So
Yeah.
I spent some time up there. I made a few trips up that way. Actually, for playing hockey, was playing in an outdoor ice hockey tournament, which is of course very different than being in Delhi, right? So it has a lot to offer, and I've really enjoyed my time there.
I think also picking up a hobby like that, like hockey, makes you see such unique places and such unique experiences. The same with me with diving. I love diving.
Mhm.
So, and that hobby also pushes me to chase several travel aspirations as such, and which push me off the beaten path as well. So, I think it's also a great way to pick up pick up a hobby or something and then put it towards travel, it really makes you have really unique personal experiences.
Yep, absolutely. And if you show up somewhere and you have that common activity, if you have if you're interested in a common activity, it just instantly provides a relationship and a bond. So it's a
Yeah.
great way to meet people.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's I have had one of my best memories when when I've gone diving, and I think it's the same with you when you were playing hockey.
For
Uh,
sure. For sure.
so so
Yeah.
it's pretty cool. Also, coming back to my question, so I will. So, what are some of the regions in the world which you find unique, or some places where you have a special affinity to, uh, or some places which have had an impact on you?
Yep. So I often say that my favorite country to travel to is New Zealand. I think it's the most naturally beautiful place in the world. I went I went in 2014 and then actually went back last year as well. So I think yeah, again, just driving in New Zealand around every corner is another postcard. I think it's worth every second of travel required to get to its corner of the world. So that's a place that comes to mind. I would also, again, I could probably sit here and name tons of places, but I would also mention Lebanon. Not just because the Lebanese saved my life, but also because of the food and the culture and the history. It's just a beautiful, beautiful country that has so much potential. So that's another place that comes to mind.
New Zealand is very, very high on my bucket list.
Great, great, make
Um,
it happen.
I will, and if you just this on Google Maps, if you just take that street view thing and you plop it on any corner in New Zealand, just it's stunning. There's no corner which
True.
I feel is not postcard worthy.
Yep, absolutely.
So it's also one of my top bucket list. I what is after completing all 193 countries, uh, did it feel like it's like an end of a goal, or did it feel like a new beginning?
So for me, and again, I think this goes back to what I was saying earlier about travel being different for everybody. I think, people who have traveled to every country in the world, when they've gotten to the end, they all have different views on what now or where am I?
Yeah.
For me, it was a little bit of both. I'd put a lot of time and energy and resources into the journey, so it felt like I'd set out to achieve a goal, and I did. And I think in life, it's important to set goals and work toward achieving them. Um, it was kind of the close of a chapter, as well. And so today, I still travel quite a bit. Most of it is around North America, the U.S. and Canada, for work. However, I still enjoy traveling when I can. I mean, it's not, travel's not central to my life the way that it was before, but the world always is. And I feel fortunate to be able to lean on the perspective that's come from travel um, today. And so I have a trip coming up just in between Christmas and New Year's. My wife and I are going to Uganda to go trekking with
Wow.
with the gorillas.
Yeah, yeah.
I have never done that. I've been to Uganda, but I didn't make it over to do the gorilla trekking. And actually, going back to a point I made earlier in this discussion, the way that I planned this trip was through the help of others in this community. A couple others who had been to every country had done this, and I asked them about where to go, how to set it up, who to talk to. And so today, I'm still kind of leaning on those resources, that network, that community, that knowledge base to be able to travel. So I'm looking forward to that. And so for me, it was, being in Brazil and completing the journey was both kind of an end and a beginning.
That's a good. That's also very. That's a unique way to look at it as well. And now it's now. So now, now your main thing is to my opinion, giving presentations and talking about your journey in.
Yep, that's right. So before, when I was in Singapore, I was working for a tech company doing business development, primarily fundraising. My professional career has shifted a little bit, primarily because of this journey and because of the Syria situation. Today, I speak full time, so I run my own speaking business. Most of my work is corporate with with conferences, conventions. So I do a little bit in faith-based settings, but my primary theme is uncertainty. And essentially, I was pushed to this point of overwhelming uncertainty, truly life or death. But through that, I learned some things and some things that helped me and some things that I think can help all of us when we're facing our own forms of uncertainty in our personal and professional lives. And there's so much uncertainty in our world with our business leaders, with our world leaders. And so I provide a framework that helped me, but also can be helpful to to them as well. And so that's where my professional time is today. And I really enjoy. I've been surrounded by a lot of good people, and still keeps me on the road a little bit, but in the U.S. and Canada primarily.
Talking about uncertainty, it's pretty fascinating. So, I had one question about uncertainty. Should one run away from uncertainty, or should one embrace it?
Embrace it. It's an opportunity. It is an opportunity to get ahead. I mean, for me, I talk about a framework that includes three things. One is to lean into gratitude. Two is to control the things that we can control and take action. And the third is to recognize uncertainty as an opportunity. And it's okay to do these things in isolation. But what I recommend and what I advocate for and what helped me is to adopt the entire framework and to do these three elements in order collectively. And if we do that, we can embrace and manage any form of uncertainty, I think.
That's very insightful and something to think about as well. How do you deal with all these daily challenges in your life? And uncertainty is everywhere. And as you said, you need to embrace it. And I would love to learn more about uncertainty as well. Sometime I would, if it's, I'll definitely even buy a book. It sounds very interesting, very intriguing, and I would love to know more. To end the conversation, I have one question to ask, which is, what advice would you give to young travelers or travelers who are now seeking to visit the world, who are curious, and what would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say just go. Just go. Oftentimes for me, when I was traveling, I didn't have much money, I didn't have much time, I didn't have everything planned, but I just went, and some of the best experiences of my life came from that. Again, though, safety has to be the top priority, and do research, talk to people who have been to these places, use the internet. There's so many resources available. But at the end of the day, um, just go. Just go, especially for young travelers, as you said. I mean, just take those risks. You don't have to be reckless or irresponsible, but in our 20s, that's the time to figure out what we want, and that's the time to learn. I mean, people in their 20s, they could do nothing right for 15 years and still be young. So why wouldn't you take that risk? And
Yeah.
a little bit cliche, but be like the turtle. A turtle doesn't move forward unless it sticks its neck out. So in order to move forward and learn and grow, we have to take some risks and we have to just go.
Yes, that is something which I wish people take into their philosophy. People just embrace risk, people embrace uncertainty, and they just go and travel the world, because travel has been something which has taught me more than anything. If you ask me about travel, I can nonstop talk about it and still not get bored about it. And it's such a meaningful part of my life. travel, and it shaped who I am, it shaped who I will become. My future travels will mold me into whatever I need to become later. So travel is, for me, it's the best teacher and the best thing which best thing I can do for my personal development, my personal growth as well.
Amazing. I agree. And I'm excited to keep in touch with you. And if I can help with anything, let me know.
Yes,
Let's stay in touch and just
absolutely.
yeah, looking forward to what's ahead.
Yes, thank you so much for taking out the time for speak with me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and learning from you, talking to you is something which is very meaningful and it's very inspirational. Thank you so much. And your journey is absolutely an inspiration to many, and up for perseverance, resilience, uncertainty, risk taking, everything. You have gone through it all, and thank you for sharing it with us. It really means a lot to me. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for helping to spread the word and congratulations on all of your success.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.